Hello everyone, welcome to the At the Races Jumps preview show, sponsored by our friends at BoyleSports. So yes, it's nearly that special time of year when you can forget about Ace, Impact or Inspiral and you can look forward to Galopin Des Champs and Constitution Hill. For jumps fans, this is the time of year they love. And so do we here at the Races on our fantastic jumps preview show, sponsored, Mick Fitzgerald, by BoyleSports.
It is time.
It is time. It is time.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's time to kick those flat horses out of the way and get the juices flowing with some proper jumping action.
OK, let's get into it straight away with you, Fitzy, before we introduce our very special guest from Ireland. The one horse that will make you gooey inside over the next 6 months or so?
Constitution Hill. Listen,
Fitzy, everyone around the country now saying the 1.01 has gone in.
In this game, you need a crowd pleaser. Constitution Hill is the crowd pleaser.
Or, in the case of this preview show, the crowd pleaser is going to be in this screen right now. Hopefully. Now, the last time we did this, our special guest wasn't here for about the first half hour of the show. But there he is. Blakey, you've moved. Hold on, are you in a hotel room somewhere? Where are you?
Yeah, I am in Newmarket, Matthew. I am in Newmarket.
Oh, you're in the Bedford Lodge then?
I am not in County Tipperary. I am in Newmarket.
You're in the Bedford Lodge, aren't you?
I am.
Give him a shout out. You might get an extra upgrade or something. But fantastic. Have you had your teeth done?
Not recently, I don't think. No, I did brush them this morning, but other than that, no.
Well, that has made a difference. They look good as well. Look, I've just said to Fitzy, you know, what is the real horse he's looking forward to? It's Constitution Hill. Fitzy is Irish, but of course he's based here. You're Irish. You're usually based in Ireland, even though you're in Newmarket. There's got to be an Irish horse. One Irish horse you can't wait to see.
Sure, look, it's painfully obvious now, but Galopin Des Champs was the one that got us all pretty hot under the collar last season, I think it's fair to say. He had that question facing him all season, whether he'd be able to carry his brilliance over the Gold Cup trip, and he duly went and proved it, only to then get beaten at the Punchestown Festival. But we'll discuss it all coming up, Matt. He's a horse that excites me. Like you say, 101 landed with Fitzy and Constitution Hill, but hard to knock that in fairness. He's a brilliant horse, one of the best we've seen over hurdles for some decades, one could easily argue.
Well, let's just get straight stuck into it then. If you are watching right now on Facebook and YouTube, then we would love you to enjoy this show and stay with us throughout the whole production. And we're going to be here for a little while, so sit back wherever you are, be comfortable and enjoy the At the Races Jumps preview season shows. Sponsored, Kevin, who's it sponsored by?
BoyleSports, I believe,
Thank you.
Matthew.
Just wanted to check you knew. Right, OK, we're going to start with some championship races. Let's start with the obvious one, the champion hurdlers. And obviously, as Fitzy has already mentioned, Constitution Hill is going to be top of the list for everyone. In fact, Fitzy, do we need to discuss this division?
No.
Is Constitution Hill in a totally different league?
Look, I think he is. I think it was not a surprise to me that they stayed over hurdles with him. You know, I think when you've got a horse that is so good at that job, I think he can go on and do something that the great Isterbrack wasn't able to do and win 4 of these. I really do. And like I say, he is a crowd pleaser. And it's amazing when I'm looking at some of his races last night, you go back and watch him beat John Bunn in that Supreme Novices Hurdle, and you forget just how easily he won that Supreme Novices Hurdle. And then you watch him at the Champion Hurdle this year, and some of the angles that they showed of him jumping the last, just for a split second your heart was in your mouth when he let go. Had he have been a horse that was tiring, he would have ended up on the floor, the stride where he came up from. But I just think he's a very, very good horse. And you need horses like him to stay sound. You need them to keep performing. And he's not going to have it all his own way. But the horse that's third favourite there, Stateman, he gave him a pretty good spanking last year.
So 99% of racing is about betting, really.
Yeah.
But then occasionally a horse comes along, a Frank or a Constitution Hill, where the betting is irrelevant, because no one's going to be backing Constitution Hill at 4-9 for the Champion Hurdle right now, or if they are already very rich. But the point I'm trying to make is that this is a horse that's important for the sport. It's a horse that, if he keeps breaking records, could put us even on maybe the front pages rather than just the back pages. So for those who are just saying, OK, well, that's boring, the odds-on favourite's going to win the Champion Hurdle, I've got no need to talk about that. Why is this horse more important than just having a fiver on a horse and trying to find a winner?
In this game, we need stars, and we need stars who perform, get people excited. And, you want to turn around to the guy next to you and say, I was there when he won. And a lot of people last year, when they saw Constitution Hill, they would have seen him for the very first time. Now, if you see a horse like him for the very first time, you want to see him win by a street. You want to see him let fly at the last, and you want to be able to say to lads in 10 or 15 years' time, you want to see the jump he made at the last. That's what we want people to see. And we need to get people excited. And yes, it is. You love to have a bet, and there is plenty of action in that market for horses to be placed behind him. But I think this horse is special, and I want to see people turn up and watch him and be able to say to their grandchildren, I was there when I saw him win his second Champion Hurdle.
He is special, Kevin, as are you. But let's just talk about two that might be able to put something up to him at some stage. Impair at Pass has looked pretty good, and Marine Nationale, his connections are very bullish. They're quite happy to take on Constitution Hill at any time. Is there anything in the form book that suggests those connections should be bullish about taking on Constitution Hill? Or do we just have to accept that he is in a different league?
Look, the form book says that Constitution Hill is a mile clear of everything that we've seen over Hurdle so far. Like, as Fitzy says, he does look special. And really, pretty much every single time we've seen him over hurdles, he's done something remarkable. Not just in visuals, but in terms of on the clock as well. This horse has had the clock backing him up pretty much the whole way through, which is what gave him such a solid look all the way through. The only time he arguably was a little bit when he wasn't brilliant, possibly, was in the entry hurdle last year when he stepped up and tripped. But look, Impair at Pass looked really good through his novice season, 4 from 4, huge amount of confidence, followed him into Cheltenham, and he duly won well and followed up at Punchestown. I don't envisage him having any problems coming back to 2 miles, to take in races like the Matheson Hurdle, the Irish Champion Hurdle, races like that. But, he does need to improve, literally a stone and more if he's going to compete with Constitution Hill. And it's a tough old ask of any horse, because as alluded to earlier, Constitution Hill is potentially not even quite possibly one of the very best hurdlers we've seen, based on what we've seen so far. I'd be with you guys. I don't think anyone was surprised that he's staying over hurdles. I think that was the widespread expectation. Look, a little bit like some of the superstar hurdlers in the past, he's going to be a victim of his own brilliance in a way, in that there will be plenty of people saying, oh God, Constitution Hill 10-1 on, it's not very exciting, is it? But that's not his fault. And like Fitzy says, he is quite an exuberant horse. We've seen him being very, willing and able to clear away and win by wide margins in a bit of a visual spectacle. So look, we'll look forward to seeing him. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of opposition to him. Certainly up until Cheltenham at the very least. And will there be meaningful opposition against him there? Time will tell. But we should appreciate this horse. He is something special, and we don't see the likes of him very often. Hopefully he stays sound for many, many seasons to come, and he can build a body of work that puts him up there with the greats that we've seen over hurdles.
I'm just interested, Kevin, Matt mentioned Marine Nationale. I think if there is a horse that could really tackle him on the visuals that we saw in the Supreme, it could be Marine Nationale, but I believe he's going steeplechasing.
Yeah, that's what they've said, I believe. Yeah, he's going to aim towards the Arkle. Matt isn't very up to date on the news cycle, clearly, which is a surprise, because normally you turn up for these things, Fitzy, and you can always trust Matt Chapman to have meticulously prepared and really taken in the running order and know exactly where he's going and what he's doing. So I'm sure that was just a temporary blip we won't see any more of that for the rest of the show.
Well, let's hope he doesn't fall on his chasing debut and then go back hurdling, hey, Kev, which can often happen, and then we can replay this back later in the season. And just to put you in your place, because I do some research, unlike you two, and do put some effort into these shows, I did have a quick message with Rich Ritchie, because I was wondering about Vauban from the point of view of, could he now be a better horse just because he's improved for the flat racing? And so I did ask Rich whether there's any chance that he could just suddenly turn up at Cheltenham. And it was quite interesting, actually. He basically said he's been on the go a long time after the Melbourne Cup, which, of course, he will win. The idea is maybe taking Japan or Hong Kong. Now, what's fascinating about that is if they really are thinking of something like the Japan Cup for Vauban, it just shows how good they think he is. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know whether that was, I presume that's the race he's thinking about. Anyway, or Hong Kong, then have a rest and then come back next flat season for Cup races, i.e. Vauban is now being trained for Ascot Gold Cups and things like that. So I think we can rule Vauban out of this race as well. So while you have brought some news to me slightly to the table there, provided, of course, everything goes well, I have countered that with some news about Vauban as well, Kevin. So I feel as a team, we're playing well together, even though as a team you have just tried to stitch me up rotten, which is not typically how teams get on well. But anyway, good luck with that for the rest of the show. You are watching the At the Races Jumps preview show on YouTube and Facebook. Let's get on to the Champion Chase division.
Well, hold on, Matthew. I can give you one at a very big price for the Champion Hurdle.
Oh, can you? Having said Constitution
it
is a good thing, you're now going to tell me to back something else at a big price.
Yeah, well, the one I'm going to mention is 66-1, and if you were to back him each way and he finished a distant second to Constitution Hill, you're still going to get a fair old payout, so it's probably worth mentioning. And he'll be interesting because I reckon we're going to see him on Saturday in the Cesarewitch, and it's Pied Piper, Gordon Elliott. He's 66-1 for the Champion Hurdle. He's going to have a great chance in the Cesarewitch, and in fairness to him, he's rated 157 over hurdles. Which is higher than the vast majority of these, maybe with the exception of Stateman. And he should have won at Cheltenham last year. For me, I'm still a bit sour about it. I fancied him in the County Hurdle. We know subsequently that Davy Russell was physically compromised at Cheltenham. He wasn't at his best, and if he had been at his best, I suspect Pied Piper would have won, and that would have been a fair performance off a mark of 154. So I just wouldn't be surprised now if he could maybe compete with Stateman in Ireland. I know he finished behind him a couple of times last season, but that was in that that second season for a juvenile over hurdles. And I just wouldn't be surprised if he can come forward a bit and potentially get in the mix in the race, because I suspect when we get there, the Champion Hurdle won't be a particularly big field, and if he can come through his races through the season and be competitive, that 66-1 could potentially be a nice bet to have in your bag.
I couldn't think of a worse bet. You're absolutely right. Actually, you're absolutely wrong. He didn't meet Stateman a couple of times. He met him 3 times, actually. And in those 3 times, he was mathematically beaten over 110 lengths if you added up the 3 performances. But anyway, look, the great thing about this show is, Kev, it is a game of opinions. And thanks for your contribution on the top hurdlers. Let's hope your opinions are more succinct on the Champion Chase division, because, of course, we have El Fabiolo against Energumene, probably in a big smash-up. I almost want to say Shishkin, of course, but I'm not going to. 13-8 El Fabiolo. Energumene at 3-1. John Bon aiming for the Tingle Creek at 6, as probably El Fabiolo and Energumene are as well. And big prices elsewhere. I can't see roughies getting involved if these 3 turn up. Let's go back to you, Kevin, for this. Fitzy and I have already had a chat off camera about where we think the top 2 might end up in this race. This show isn't just about Cheltenham. It's not a Cheltenham preview. It's about what might happen throughout the season. But in general terms, which is the 2-mile chaser exciting you the most?
It'll be El Fabiolo, and I've been a big Energumene fan. We've seen plenty of him. We know where we are with him. Hopefully he'll come back the same horse this season. He is obviously getting a little bit older, but one suspects that Willie will try and keep him and El Fabiolo apart. certainly up until Cheltenham time. And like El Fabiolo was brilliant last year. You know, the promise was there as a novice hurdler, very closely matched over in novice hurdles with John Bond, but El Fabiolo, you know, seemed to adapt to fences and improve for them that little bit more than John Bond did. And Julie got the better of him at Cheltenham. Like he's not the most comfortable watch because he can hit one. But geez, he put up some really impressive performances through last season. Dublin Racing Festival, he was brilliant. Backed it up at Cheltenham and backed it up again at Punchestown. Look, you'd have to be really excited about him. You know, for me, he's the one in terms of last year's Novice Chases come through. He's the one. I know the market will tell you that, but you know, I think he can come forward again. You know, he's only had 9 runs in his life. You know, 8 runs over jumps. You know, he can be better again this season, and that thought would put strike fear into all of his rivals, I'd imagine, because he was bloody good last season.
He was, Fitzy. El Fabiolo, there's no doubt of the 2 mile chasers coming through. He's the exciting one, isn't he? And he's built like Weaver.
But look, I think this horse, his jumping was a little bit hit and miss. But you watch him in that Arkle. I watched it again last night, and there was one fence where I thought he was going to be in trouble. He was so quick with his feet. I just think that this horse, he has the wow factor about him over that trip. And yeah, I think he's going to be a tough horse to beat. I really do. I think Energumene's got his hands full with him. John Bond is an interesting horse. Sandown is obviously a good track for him. I think for John Bond to beat him, he's got to be at his brilliant best, but he's got to be at his brilliant best being given that aggressive ride, that Edredon Bleu style, where he has to meet everything right and he has to get everything right for him to beat him. You know, and there was a couple of fences where he wasn't as fluent as he could have been at Cheltenham, which allowed El Fabiolo to sit behind him and pick him off whenever he wanted. But I just think for John Bond to be at his brilliant best, he's got to be ridden in that aggressive style. And when he's ridden that way, he is a very good horse to watch because he is such a good jumper. That is his ace card. And if that gets blunted, he's a sitting duck for El Fabiolo.
Yeah, with John Bond in particular, the effort that Aidan Coleman has gone to come back from horrific injury. I mean, anyone who follows him on Instagram will completely understand the pain, the agony, the heartache, the mental torture that he has gone through over the last few months with these injuries. And there would be something that would justify all that if John Bond did turn out. But John Bond's a really good horse. He's not. Is he special, John Bond, or is he just really good?
He's really good. But you have to remember, go back through the ages with horses in that division. There's not been that. There's been a few, the likes of Altior, Sprinter, Sacra, that spring to mind. But there's been a gap where some horses only won one, never won again. You know, so you could have an opening where you have a horse like a John Bond, who, if everything slots into place for him, he could actually get, hit right on the day. You have to remember, they are not machines. They all have off days. Edwardstone is a 16-1 shot for the race.
I was going to mention him.
He's a player for that Tingle Creek. And if you're looking at a value bet in a race like the Tingle Creek, just go back and watch Edwardstone winning that race last year.
He was the 5-1 winner last year. And he kind of reminds me of what Alan King has done with Trushan. Like, Edwardstone could be Alan King's jumping equivalent to Trushan. I've never thought he's a worldie, to be quite honest, Edwardstone. No. But he's better than he showed at the end of last season, anyway.
There's no doubt. And, Kevin is probably the best man to talk about the betting angle than I. But at the same time, when you get horses who turn up at certain times of the year, they almost up their game and they're ready at that time of the year. So I think, dismissing a horse like Edwardstone in a race like the Tingle Creek, you do it at your folly.
OK, well, come the Champion Chase, it sounds like 2 for El Fabiolo come the day. I'm sticking with Energumene. For me, he's slightly unheralded, because he's a horse who can look absolutely brilliant on certain occasions and not quite so good on others. Yeah. But he doesn't lose many. And I think he might just stalk and pounce on Fabio. He might have a bit more pace, I think. That's my theory.
Yeah, I think poor old Energumene, I say poor old Energumene, he's a 2-time Queen Mother Champion Chase winner, but he probably doesn't get the credit that such achievements warrant just because both of those Champion Chases just went to bits a little bit. in that his main rivals were fiercely disappointing on the day, and he was left with quite simple tasks. So he didn't maybe get hurled at as much as he deserved. But it hasn't just been about the champion chases with him. He's been very, very good. On other days, and of course he was part of that epic race against Shishkin a couple of years ago as well. That will live long in the memory. Came out the wrong side of that, of course, but lost very little. It's a race that we'll all remember.
Now, if you are watching on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button. And this is really mainly for Kevin Blake fans, because you'll never miss another At the Races YouTube upload. And I can tell you, after the Watershed, Kevin uploads all sorts of stuff on there. And it's quite a sight. So you will never miss another one of the Kevin Blake uploads after, I think it's after 11 they usually go up at night, but they are some watch. So make sure you subscribe right now. It's been hugely successful for a certain type. Right, OK, let's go to the Gold Cup right now. Of course, Galopin Des Champs. We're talking about staying horses, but of course, really what we're talking about is horses that probably will end up in the Gold Cup, or I guess the King George, and that might be crucial as far as an animal like Shishkin is concerned, because in some ways, Mick, if we're talking about staying chasers, Shishkin is now right up there, isn't he?
Well, the way he won at Liverpool, you'd have to say yes. And, you know, I kept thinking, well, he jumps, you see him, if he goes and shifts one way, he shifts markedly left-handed and puts himself in trouble sometimes going that way. But then I watched the Ascot race again, where he won by 16 lengths. And he beat a horse rated 162, and he beat Fakir Duderies rated 164, and he beat them senseless. You look at his record at Kempton. He's run at Kempton 4 times. He's won 4 times, and arguably put up some of his best performances around there. So you have to say, looking at the bare facts, his form around Kempton is probably better than anywhere else. There's a lot of things and a lot of reasons to think that he could be a major player in that race in the King George. Yeah. You know, he's definitely a horse for me that you've got Brave Man's Game, who won the race last year. That was, I think, one of his best performances alongside his second in the Gold Cup. And Paul Nicholls will be keen to get him back to do that again. But I definitely think Shishkin is a player in a race like the King George.
So Brave Man's Game and Shishkin are both 10-1 for the Gold Cup. Currently, the best price I can find for Brave Man's Game in the King George is 2-1, and Shishkin is 5-1.
Yeah.
Now, Shishkin's a fair each-way bet for the King George, isn't he?
Well, definitely. You know, with all those factors taken into account, he's definitely a player. Because you might have a small field again. You might only have 7 runners.
Yeah.
Who knows? I think he's definitely a player.
There are some forgotten horses as well. When I say forgotten horses, I think one forgotten horse, because he was injured for a lot of last season. I know the owner actually was slightly disappointed that people almost sort of forgot about his horse, L'Empresse. Whenever there's mud flying, you wouldn't ignore him.
I'll tell you, I think at the prices at the minute, he's one of the most interesting ones for the Gold Cup, because he has become a forgotten horse, but you have to remember what he did, on his best days. He was very good in the Brown Advisory, beating a High Seigneur. And I can't get out of my head how well he was running in the King George last year. When everything was going wrong, really. I don't think he really wants to go that way around. And he was jumping out to his left badly the whole way. And he was still bang in there with Brave Man's Game. I think Brave Man's Game would have won, probably by a few lengths, but considering all that went wrong, L'Empresse was in there boxing for right up until the point where he made his exit, and I think Cheltenham suits him way better. And he's still low mileage. We've only seen him 8 times over fences. He's 8 rising 9. I'll be really interested to see him back and to see where he slots in, because I wouldn't be surprised at all if he ends up being one of the main, certainly British trained contenders for the race.
And what do we make of Ahoy Seigneur? Because he's a massive price for the Gold Cup. When he came down, there were a few people who were saying he was going as well as anything for that race. He's not even priced up going right-handed round for the King George. He probably won't go there. But I mean, there's just already signs very much early in this jump season that Scoo, Lucinda Russell and all the other Scudamores that are now involved, the army of Scudamores, you get the feeling this is a stable that's going to have an amazing season, I have a feeling.
Yeah, but he looks like he's a very, very good horse round Aintree, doesn't he, a High Seigneur? Is he
Not
going
many anti-post prices on the Aintree.
Yeah, but is he going to win? Is he going to win a Gold Cup? Like, if somebody said to you, "Do you want to back him to win a Gold Cup?" Would you want to back him?
I'll tell you what.
Do you know, Fitzy?
Scoo's watching this and saying yes.
Ride this horse. I really want to see him ride the horse aggressively. You know, I fancied him in the King George last year, and I was just disappointed with the way he was ridden. I think he's a horse that maybe doesn't have a great brain when it comes to jumping, and I think he's at his best when he's just ridden aggressively, and he doesn't have to think about it. He's just sent. I think that's when he jumps his best. I thought he was running a super race, under that sort of ride in the Gold Cup until he had a bit of a blip and came down. He ran a storming race at Aintree when his jumping maybe wasn't quite as good. But there's all the abilities in there. Like, you look at bits and pieces of his form and they read so well. Like, it puts him in amongst them all. But he's one of those, he can't afford to have a mental blip, because when he does, it tends to cost him. But he's the type of horse that has the ability to pop up in any of those big days and run a blinder.
I've compared Ahoy Seigneur with Scoo, or to Scoo, with Carville's Hill back in the day, who of course got beat in the Gold Cup. And I don't think Scoo really likes the comparison, and it's probably not a fair one, because Carville's Hill probably had issues and was more brilliant than Ahoy Seigneur when he was brilliant. But having said that, for the same reason you've just said, Kevin, it doesn't really... See, with horses, it doesn't really matter whether they've got issues or whether they've got mental problems. If there is something stopping them doing what they naturally can do, that is all that matters. And for that reason, I do think there's a little bit of a comparison in that they're both highly talented, but you just wonder on occasions whether they will prevent themselves from fulfilling their potential.
I actually think that their other horse in there, Corrick Rambler, the horse who won the National,
for the Gold Cup rather than the King George.
I could see him running a race in a Gold Cup, especially in a big field, because he's an amazing horse. Like, when you watch that Ultima that he won last year and he beat Fast or Slow, you cannot believe how well he was going. And he weaved his way through, and we've seen it before, Kevin. Races like the Gold Cup, where it's a huge packing field. Remember the year that Santini nearly won against Alboom Photo?
Yeah.
If you imagine that kind of race...
The great Santini.
Yeah, and you see Corrick Rambler weaving his way through. When he gets to the back of the last on that new course, they've gone hard. He'll be tagging onto them and he'll be finishing his race off really well. He's the horse that I would think of the two Lucinda Russell horses that I would want to back at a big price.
But
we don't have a clue how good he is either, because he has such a notable tendency to idle, and I know he's 9 rising 10, but he's low mileage again. Like, he's only had 10 runs over fences. They've really minded him the last couple of seasons. I'd be with you. I think he could win the National again, but he could certainly go and compete in the Gold Cup on the way, because you know yourself, Mick, like, if he runs the Gold Cup, he'll be given a lovely no pressure type of ride, and you know what he's capable of doing. He could creep away there and really shake them up. So I'd be thinking similar lines to you now.
The only problem slightly for me, lads, is that he's not that big a price.
He's 20 to 1.
20 to 1. You kind of think he'd be 100 to 1 or something, and he's not. He's outside of the top two, he's kind of 4th or 5th favourite sort of thing. But I agree with you. I wonder. I'd love to know if Scoo was put. I mean, he loves Corrick, so he's probably not going to be the right person to ask. But if he said who was naturally more talented, Ahoy Seigneur or Corrick Rambler, I think they'd choose Ahoy Seigneur.
Yeah, I think they would. But what you've got to remember is, look at Corrick Rambler's form. Second half of the season is the time when he really gets going. He got beaten a couple of times last year, and you were looking at him going, really? Ugh. But then you watch him in the second half of the season, he's a different horse.
Yeah. Is it you're going to laugh at me now. We're going to go into the hurdlers and this horse kind of mixer. Do we forget about Monkfish completely? Is he... Because if you just take last season as a comeback season and almost ignore what he did, there was a time when Monkfish was just about favourite for the Gold Cup the following year. Is there any hope for the Monk?
I don't know. You can text Rich Ritchie and ask him now. But if
ask him. Go on.
Oh, look at you, Bitter.
If you were mine, like I train him for the Stairs Hurdle. You know,
okay.
that's where they brought him back last season.
I'll leave him a voice message. Hold on.
Yeah,
Hi, Rich. Hold on, Kev. Hold on. Rich, we're right in the middle of the show. I've just had, abuse from Blake and Mick Fitzgerald suggesting Monkfish could return to his best. If there's any chance you can send me a voice note back telling me what you think of their comments and whether Monkfish can return to his great days, that would be much appreciated. I apologise for the language used by the boys. Right, we'll see if he replies. But he is online. Yeah. Manila Indo, are we just forgetting about him?
I think he'd be interesting in a Stairs Hurdle myself.
Yeah.
And knowing Willie, it might just suit him to do that because he'd often say himself it's easier to keep them sound over hurdles, and this fella's clearly has had a fair few problems. And Willie isn't short on Gold Cup ammunition. And we've hardly mentioned Galopin Des Champs. It's the short price fan for the race.
I know.
But when you're looking at this division, we kind of know he's exciting, don't we?
But the worry is, and am I wrong in thinking, we've seen it before, sometimes horses that win Gold Cups, they go to the place that they never recover from. And that's the obvious worry, with horses like that. Like Might Bite, when he got beat in the Gold Cup, he never looked the same horse afterwards. With this horse, will he be as good? Like him and Brave Man's Game both had hard races at Cheltenham, and then they were beaten by Fast or Slow, who had run in the Ultimate a time previously and finished second. Are we taking that as a blip, Kevin, or do you think, well, look, we've got to take the horse on face value and think he's going to bounce back and be as good as he was when he bolted up at Leopardstown?
Yeah, look. I think I don't want to sound disrespectful to Fast or Slow, because I think he is a very good horse, but I don't think that was Galopin Des Champs on the day. I was so impressed with his campaign last season because really starting the season on this show, I reckon I might have said that I believe if they asked him to, he could win the Queen Mother Champion Chase. I think he has that set of attributes, and the challenge they were going to have was to get him to relax and be sensible and efficient enough to do what he can do in a Gold Cup, and he did that. When they stepped him up in trip, he adapted really well. Paul Townend rode him with so much bravery in the way that they did ride him, and he delivered in the Gold Cup and was really good. And the two times we saw him, the first two times we saw him overstaying trips over fences, it was characterised by how strong he was up the run in. So you watch him in the Gold Cup and you're like, oh yeah, if you stay sound, you're just going to keep doing that. And then he goes to Punchestown and gets beat. Race horses, they'll let you down just when you believe in them. But do I think he's still massively the one to beat in the division? Yeah, because we talked about brilliance with Constitution Hill. For me, Galopin Des Champs has shown brilliance, on a number of occasions, and he showed in the Gold Cup that he can do it. In an extreme, in an environment where stamina is really at a premium. So I wouldn't be losing faith in him, and I can't wait to see him back out.
Just to finally on this category give two or three more horses a mention, because there'll be people shouting at the screen. Hewick, it wouldn't be a surprise if he's somewhere in the mix come Cheltenham and he'll win races. Noble Yates, if you watch his Gold Cup run, it was extraordinary. He was running on strongly. If it was really testing in the Gold Cup, who knows what he could do. And one horse that I've no idea how he's going to get on over the months ahead, but My Drogo, once upon a time, did look like one of the most exciting youngsters out there. It will be interesting to see what he does at some point during the jump season as well. So there are a few in the mix who could yet pop up. I think it's a better division perhaps than people think. And Brave Man's Game, just finally on this actually, can I just throw one question at you? Brave Man's Game, because as of yet Nichols hasn't texted any abuse, but if he's watching he will at some point if we say something. Do we think he stays the Gold Cup trip or not? Kevin Blake, just a yes or no, no explanation. Brave man's game. Does he stay the Gold Cup trip, or is Nichols running him in the wrong race at Cheltenham? Yes or no?
He stays the trip.
OK, yes, it was the answer then. Some things you have to. You think he's considered intelligent. Fitzy, you'll know the answer.
I know,
to
but
this.
he's
Well,
a horse that's getting better.
your final point was, did he run him in the wrong race? And if I said yes, he'd say, oh, he ran him in the wrong race, which is exactly the opposite of what I was saying. So come on, Matt, pose your questions correctly, and I'll give you a one-word answer.
It's Fitzy's turn, Kevin. Thank you for your contribution, Fitzy.
Oh, look, I think he stayed, but I actually think he'll stay better this year, because this is a horse who, when he ran at Cheltenham in the Novice Hurdle, I was down at the start, and I saw him. He literally melted in front of my eyes. He was shaking. You know, the horse got himself very upset, and he is a little bit of a warrior. When he ran into Charlie Hall this year, we saw him walking into the pre-parade ring. He was shaking, he was sweating. He's that type of horse. I think if he gets better and better and better and grows up a little bit more, he has a better chance of turning the form round. But it was you need more than one horse to have a great race, and we needed him to make that a great win for Galopin Des Champs last year. Down to the last, it was still all to play for, and he only up the running he gave way.
OK, do we want to...
What about Jerry Colomb? What about Jerry Colomb?
We're moving on now, Kev. Thanks.
No, I think we've got to give him credit.
Really?
I think if he's going to win a big race like that, the staying trip of the Gold Cup really will bring it out in him.
He's not going to win the Gold Cup, is he?
I think if he's going to win a big race at Cheltenham, he'll have a chance in the Gold Cup, because he's a very strong stayer.
Do we want to find out whether Rich thinks that Monkfish can win? Here we go. I don't know what he's called us, but he's just put a little...
This?
Whatever he said at the end, he's just... He says, I meant presenters. So whatever he said about us... here we go. Hold on. I've got to this out.
Get the bleep.
Hold on, let's start this again. Here we go.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Fitzy. I think we should start testing producers for their samples, given some of those comments. Crikey. I think that, look, he was really good his first run last year. Second run was probably too quick. We'll try. He's a wonderful horse. We've given him plenty of time. It's too early in the season to say, but, you know, we're going to give it a go. But it remains to be seen. It's a big ask, but if anybody can do it, when it can do it. Hope you're having a great time, and good luck with the show.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks very much. And what a good idea from Rich. You should have both been tested. Oh, you meant presenters. Yes, you should have been tested before this show, and we could have had the test results halfway through, especially you, Blakey.
It's just a pity.
Right.
Can we get Kevin's thing on Jerry Colomb? Come on, Kevin, we want to hear about you, Jerry Colomb.
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, I agree. Stays really, really well. I just wondered, how much did he enjoy Cheltenham last year? Like, he seemed to get a bit lost coming down the hill, and maybe he just got outpaced. But I don't know. Like, he's plenty of form over shorter. I think anyone that backed him now would have came away from that headbutt in the wall and feeling that he probably should have won the race. And I think if you ran it if you replayed it a few times, I suspect he would have won a few times. But I think the extra distance, the Gold Cup's going to suit him. Looking forward to seeing how he progresses. Like, could he end up in a Grand National one day? I wouldn't be surprised at all. Even though he's obviously very highly rated now, but I do like him, and I wouldn't like to be underestimating him like Matthew is.
Clearly, English language struggling a bit there, but we'll try again in the future. Right, let's talk about staying hurdlers now, because that is a division. I mean, I open the floor to you, Fitzy. I mean, name me who you think is the best staying hurdler. Tiapu?
I don't know. Like, Sire de Burley was the winner of the Stayers Hurdle. Did you see that coming? He's got a great record at Cheltenham. He won 2 for temps.
But then he won at Aintree as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
amazing horse.
No, I didn't.
And I think we've got to give the trainer credit. I think, it was a hell of a performance. To keep a horse like that going, in that vein of form, to feel like he's almost getting better at the stage of his career, takes him down.
Do you know who's quite a short price favourite for the Stayers Hurdle right now? And I'm not messaging him again. Gaelic Warrior. Is this?
Yeah, do message him, Matt.
Oh,
Because I remember speaking to Rich and Joe at Cheltenham last
we
March.
might as well ditch you, Kevin, and get him on Zoom, eh? And they'll make it...
but immediately after the Ballymore, they were saying, this is going to be some stay and chaser. So I don't know if what they're planning, maybe, what Willie's like, the decision probably hasn't been made yet, but there seems to be a strong possibility that he'll go chasing, in which case it'll make this market even more wide open. But I am mad about the horse, Gaelic Warrior. He's a gas old character. Like, he obviously has been held back by his tendency to jump right a few times in his life, but I thought he ran huge in the Ballymore, second to Imperia Passe when the race didn't really go his way, and then stepped up and trip again at Punchestown and bolted up. So I'm a big fan of his. I'd be really excited to see him over fences if that's what they do, but we'll probably have to watch this space.
I did just message just quickly. I mean, I'm not going to keep doing this because I'll drive him mad, but he says that the intention at the moment is to stay hurdling with Gaelic Warrior.
Oh, excellent.
So,
good news. The track will suit.
Yeah.
Like that track.
Broken quite a bit of news in this show, Kev.
Well, it's a good job we have you on.
Must be regretting the start of the show when people watch that.
Yeah. Well, it's just lucky I'm here to tee up all the right questions for you to pass on, Matt.
Oh, you're a horrible individual, aren't you? Right. Funnily enough, Vauban is joint second favourite for the Stairs Hurdle, so I think we can rule him out straight away. Tiapu's going to be in the first three for me. If you wanted an each-way bet at 12-1 for the Stairs Hurdle, I mean, there's not really anywhere else he's going to go, is there?
No.
And I thought he was unlucky last year. I did.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's definitely a player, and I think the owners, they've injected a lot of cash into the game. It'd be nice for them if they had a good horse that could fly the flag for them, because you need them.
Yeah, I really like him. I really think he's a very promising horse. Is there anything...
Sire de Berle is 16-1.
He's 20, yeah.
Unbelievable. Last year's winner of the race.
How old is he now? 16. He must be about... How old is he now? Must be 11 or 12.
He'll be 12 next year. But he was 11 this year and it didn't stop him, He's remarkable.
Stay away, Faye. Could be a new kid on the block.
He's going...
Definitely chasing, is he?
He's going chasing.
Is he? Well, in that case... Well, he's in the betting. Falls into first in his Novice Chase. Bang. 25-1.
Very strong stayer.
I tell you what, he was one of the surprises until I did a preview night in London with Cobden. And he tipped up this horse for the Cheltenham Festival, which was great for the preview night, but it was terrible for those on the panel who completely mocked him for this selection. And it turned into one of the surprises of the season, Stay Away Faye, for me. Not for you, Kev? You always thought it was a good horse, you were saying.
No. So it surprised me as well, Matt. Just I'm surprised every time the English have a winner at Cheltenham these days myself, but what can you do?
OK, thanks for that positivity, Kevin. I think we're going to do a giveaway now. Hello. Now, how would you like to win tickets for the Fighting Fifth at Newcastle, where, of course, you could see Constitution Hill, or at Ascot a little later in the season? Now, comment, hashtag, at the races, in the comments section below on YouTube. You've got to be watching on YouTube for this. Some things are for Facebook viewers, some things are for YouTube viewers. This is for YouTube. So if you want to get those tickets to either go and see Constitution Hill, are we including travel in that? It's a long way. No, just tickets. Going to be expensive day out.
Yeah, but he's worth it, Constitution Hill.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
He's worth it.
Yeah. So you won't put your expenses in for that trip, will you, Fitzy?
No,
absolutely.
I'll be at Newbury.
Petrol for free. Right. Now, when this was put into the running order, I have to say, I did sort of slightly think to myself, really? We're going to go to the Mares right now. I loathe the Mares Hurdle. But what about the mares? Come on, Kev. Which mares should we be looking out for? You're a man who knows how to have a mare.
Looking down through the market here, like it's plenty of the usual suspects. There's going to be a few of last season's juveniles coming through, potentially. The likes of Lassie Mout and Gallimar So and a few of those. But I look down the prices, and now maybe I'm a devil, maybe I'm a bit stubborn, Matthew, but Brandy Love is 25-1, and I just can't get the notion out of my head that she's a really good mare and that we didn't see the best of her at all last season. She had an interrupted prep. She was quite late coming back in, and I still fancied her in the Mayor's Hurdle, but we know the way the race panned out. Honeysuckle really well positioned up in the front end, and anything that was held up basically had no chance, and that's where she raced. So I'm hoping the Mullins team get a cleaner run at her. There's a possibility she could go chasing, of course, but I'm hoping they stay hurdling. Look, she can't go right-handed, and a whole bunch of her recent runs have been right-handed. So that's why I was so looking forward to seeing her at Cheltenham. Run of the race went against her. So hopefully they get a full campaign with her and she can show how good she is. And we know how good she is from when she absolutely mollywhopped Love Envoy at Fairyhouse, which is the wrong way around for Brandy Love. So if she can ever get back to that sort of level of performance, I think she could definitely get competitive in a Mayor's Hurdle.
You don't want to get on the wrong side of Brandy Love, that is for sure. Fitzy, Love Envoy. She's double digits now. I mean, if she's there on the day, there's no way Love Envoy is going to be double digits.
No, she ran a hell of a... Like, when you think, you have to feel sorry for Connections, really.
Your old mucker feed.
Honeysuckle turns up in the Mayor's race. Love Envoy runs the race of her life, really, and she gets beaten by a horse who's won a champion hurdle.
Yeah.
So you have to count yourself a little bit unlucky. She is a very, very solid performer. But look at Marie's Rock there at 16-1. If she were to turn up in the Mayor's Hurdle, you know, she wouldn't be a 16-1 shot, surely.
Not on the day, is it? Not on the day, no. If she's there, she's going to be single digits as well. She was quite well back last year, I think.
Yeah. Echoes in Rain, Kevin. She's one I always feel is really talented, but she sometimes just pulls too hard and then just blows her chance.
Yeah, they've tried to shoehorn her into being a 2.5 miler over hurdles, when for me she's an absolute 2 miler all day long. She doesn't relax enough to give herself a chance. And look, she's been acquitting herself well on the flat there recently, but to me she's a 2 miler. Like, I'd sooner run her in the champion hurdle and try and pick up some pieces behind the big horse, rather than keep doing the same thing. Just keep running over 2.5 miles and not get the result, because she just doesn't help herself, like you say. She just doesn't relax.
Of course, it might all be obvious come the day, because Impervious has won her last 5 races.
Yeah.
She's fairly highly rated in the 150s already. Could see Colin Murphy back in the big time.
That'd be great. You know, bring on the days of, you know, Brave Inc. and, you know, all those horses, Big Zeb. You know, like that. You know, they were great days.
And Matt, we know that you're showing again that you're not exactly Mr. Current Events, because Impervious has had a setback, and we'll hopefully see her in the second half of the season. But at the minute, she's on the easy list, unfortunately.
Yeah, but isn't it October? I'm hoping she'll be back by March. Are you saying she won't be back by March?
Hopefully so. I'd say at the time they announced it, they didn't really have a full prognosis, I don't think, and they were hoping that she'd be back in the spring, but it's a little bit up in the air. And if she does reappear, one assumes it'll be over fences.
What about Galopin Des Champs, Kevin? Is that one that you think could be a player?
Yeah, like I liked her through last season, and I was I think I went to Cheltenham hoping that she might get the better of Lossiemouth again. She famously beat her at Leopardstown when things went wrong for Lossiemouth. And look, she continued to run really well, but she was ultimately behind Lossiemouth twice after that, before going to Auteuil and getting a massive day there, winning the Grade 1. Looking, in fairness, like the mid-range trip suited. So I wouldn't mind her now. But look, as we know, we often talk about it, I suppose, in the context of championship divisions, how difficult it is for juveniles to come through, the top juveniles to become top open class hurdlers. The gap wouldn't be as big for a top class juvenile hurdling filly to come into open mares company, but it's still a leap to take. So I'd be hopeful that she can improve again. Look, she was a work in progress. She needs to, if she learns to relax even better, I think she'll come forward, but she still probably needs to find, certainly £10 to get in amongst those open class mares.
I'm almost scared to mention a horse now for fear that Kevin's just going to tell me, no, it's been sold to Bahrain or something. I mean, it's like, it's...
but the great thing is, if you mention the right one and Kevin gets really excited, you'll feel great, won't you?
You keep trying, Matt. Keep trying.
Right. This, of course, is the At the Races Jumps preview show. We are very much sponsored by BoyleSports, and we have got some jump season enhancements for you. Not the kind of enhancement Kevin needs, but anyway. Right. Constitutional to go unbeaten. 4-5 with...
Value.
Sorry?
You've got to have some of that.
Value.
That'll do. Be the end of Boyle. Facile Vega to win any Novice Chase at the Cheltenham Festival, 11-4. I don't think that's impossible. I'm not sure I'd want 11-4, but I don't think it's impossible. I wouldn't give up on Facile. Shishkin to win the King George, 11-2. Shishkin to win the King George, and I can tell you right now,
We get a bit of each way.
well, the best price out there is around 5, so that is that you won't get any bigger than 11-2. That's for sure. And Galopin Des Champs to win another Gold Cup. You can get 9-4 right now with our sponsors at BoyleSports. Now, I have to say, when Inigo, who is in charge of this show and soon actually to depart these shores, we should as a three, we should just say thanks to Inigo. Inigo is Inigo Gross's name. He's put together a lot of these shows and he's leaving. And it's something that I'm deeply upset about because he is absolutely mint at what he does. Anyway, thanks for Inigo. When he put this show together and he put in, right, next Novice Hurdlers, Novice Chase, I was like, oh, God, because you could literally go through hundreds of them. Let's just rattle through some Novice Hurdlers or any hurdler, Fitzy, that you're looking forward to.
Well, I think you've got to put a dream to share in there. I think we were all, we were hopefully going to see him in the early part of the season.
Cash machine for Brian Gleeson. Yeah. He's built a new house, hasn't he?
Yeah, it hasn't happened, but... you see him winning that race at the Cheltenham Festival last year, then backing it up with a really, really solid run, winning the Punchestown race. He is very exciting. He's got a lot of natural pace, and he's definitely a player. The horse that finished second to him is a horse called Fact to File. That is another horse that you have to give a lot of time to. They are two high-class horses, and let's not forget Captain Teague, who is the highest-placed English trained horse who finished third to them. He's another one who's going hurdling, and it's fantastic to have these horses ready to come out because it really is. This is the time of the year that jump fans really feel alive.
Yeah,
because it's something to get excited about, and that Dream to Share is a proper horse.
Now, if you're the 1 millionth listener, viewer watching this after October the 14th, Captain Teague, of course, should have run by then because he's meant to run at Chepstow this week. So fingers crossed for him. He does look a machine, though. The champion bumper third. So built again for hurdles. Kevin, you're obviously Fitzy's Irish, but you're our kind of Irish input boy in this particular show. Which ones have you got for us?
Irish input boy, I like that. Jesus. Look, sure, we know the obvious ones, I suppose. Look, like Fitzy says, it's such a good time of season because it's one thing for a novice herder to go novice chasing and examine their ability to jump over fences, but to go from bumpers into hurdles, that's an even bigger jump into the unknown. You can get a much bigger variation and how well they take to it. So it's always really interesting to see. In terms of, he's not a dark one by any means, but one of last year's bumper horses that didn't run in one of the big bumpers is a horse called Ballyburn of Willie Mullins's, who comes from that point-to-point background. He won 2 bumpers last year, last season, I should say, Punchestown, including one at the festival, and it was just notable because he pulled really hard in both of them, to a really unusual extent, and he still won very well. I'm a little bit surprised that he's kind of a shorter price generally for the longer novice hurdles than the Supreme, because to me, hurdles may well settle them down really well. Hopefully they do, but he'd look more of a 2-miler to me now at the minute, certainly. So I can't wait to see his transition to hurdles, not just for how he jumps, but how he settles as well. And I'd also mention Tully Hill another one of Willie Mullins's. Like Willie Mullins, like in bumpers, like what do they have? I think he's something like 7 of the first 10 in the champion bumper, like, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And Tully Hill wasn't one of those. He went to the Punchestown bumper instead and finished second to a Dream to Share, travelled really strongly. Like he's a real exciting horse as well. And that was a big ask to go in against the Dream to Share off the back of one run in the bumper. And he acquitted himself really well. And I just echo Fitzy's comments on a Dream to Share. And we reckon he's certainly the only Irish horse this century to win 5 bumpers. Highly unusual feat. And look, he is a flatbred, but he's in a great school to learn how to jump. And if he's a fluent hurdler, he'll take some whacking now because he's so classy.
It's interesting. Can I just get that graphic back up of the prices for the Ballymore again? Because there's a horse in there that I really like of Paul Nichols's called In the Waterside, which is owned by Max McNeil.
Okay.
Like I watched it again last night when this horse won at Sandown. This looks like a really good horse, and I think he's in the Waterside. You can see him. He's down the bottom, 25-1. Look, I think he's a very smart horse. Like he powered up the hill at Sandown. And I know sometimes you can see horses who, you know, they can be flattered by Sandown because some horses just can't cope with the conditions and can't cope with the hill. But I just love the way this horse went through the race. And he's one of the horses that I think has come from the Paul Nicholls Academy where, you know, he's gone the store route as opposed to, you know, in the other way. So there's a lot to like about this horse. He won at Exeter, won at Sandown. And I think he's a very exciting horse and definitely one to keep an eye on.
And I know you disagree with me on this, Fitzy, a little bit, but Burdett Road, who's going hurdling, we got told the other day, in the All Mankind colours of the Gredleys. I mean, this is a horse who's got within 5 lengths of Desert Hero, who was 3rd in the Ledger. He's a horse who is a Royal Ascot winner. He goes on soft ground. He's a big horse. He's not like a little whippet of a flat horse. He's 33-1 for the Triumph. And I think there are generations that would just laugh and say, oh, yeah, 33 for the Triumph, there are 100 horses going. But there won't be. There might be only 10 horses in the Triumph Hurdle because they've messed that race up, to be quite honest, in my opinion. If you wanted just to take a flyer, it won't surprise me at all if Burdett Road wins his first hurdle race on the bridle, because he'll be in a race where he's going to be odds on, probably, first time over hurdles. Michael Bell can train hurdlers. In fact, he has quite a good record with jumps horses. He's going to be one of those. He could even be favourite for the Triumph Hurdle after one win. Now, whether he ends up there, only time will tell. But that's why you risk 33-1.
That's why he's 33-1, because...
he wouldn't be the worst fiver each way.
Oh, no, he wouldn't. But once he's jumped obstacles in public, I think you then have an opinion. But that's why he's 33-1.
Exactly.
Not 10-1.
I mean, if he hacks up first time, he'll be favourite for the Triumph. Yeah. Because he's a near group class flat horse if he can jump. I mean, and obviously that's the risk you take, and the other flip of the coin is, of course, he almost refuses at the first hurdle. You've done your money, but that, hopefully, people who are watching this show
I would be happier
that.
with younger top-grade flat horses jumping than older top-grade flat horses going jumping, because I think when you get them young enough, you've got half a chance with them. I think as they get a little bit older and get seasoned campaigners, it's harder to teach them to jump.
The only problem probably is that Rich Ritchie's got something that he already knows is going to win the Triumph Hurdle, like he did with Lossiemouth. Already knew at this time last year that he was going to win the Triumph. No, I'm not. Must be trying to
shy, Matt.
What? Sorry, Kevin, are you still here? Thanks for joining in. Right. We're going to promote something now. Let's promote the website, the guide to the jumps. I'm going to do this into camera one, straight down the barrel, they call this. No, we're just going to talk over a caption. There we go. Name those 5. Brave Man's Game, Marine Nationale, Constitution Hill, Galopin, and probably El Fabiolo. That's what I'm going to go with those.
That's good.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
That was just a guess.
Done well there.
Do you think? Anyway, the guide to the jumps. I haven't even promoted it yet. They've removed the caption. Tom, put the caption back. At theraces.com/jumps. Now, that is why Thomas is a top producer, because he's one of the few that actually listens and understands when he's made an error. The At the Races guide to the jumps is on the At the Races website. In association with BoyleSports, I noted, actually. Yeah. Did you see that, lads, at the bottom? Did you see the little caption? What did it say, Kev?
I believe it said BoyleSports, Matthew.
Yeah, it did. And they are sponsoring this show, in case you didn't know by now. Be testing on that later.
Novice Chasers?
Should we go Novice Chasers?
Yeah, come on.
Well, let's just bang in straight away Nappers Hill. And one that we could have talked about in different categories so far, In the Pocket. Now, that is a horse that doesn't totally spring to mind, even though was a Grade 1 winner at Aintree, Fitzy. Anyway, those are my two. I'm just throwing in there. A star's put in Stay Away Fay as well. Is it Fay or Fry?
Fay.
Fay.
Stay Away Fay is a real stare. You're looking at the Broadway, I think they call it now, is it? The 3-miler.
It will change probably. Yeah. Anyway, I don't
Nationale.
know, because Kevin will tell me that they changed the name this morning.
Nationale.
Okay.
Winner of the Supreme.
Okay.
I think looks tailor-made for an Arkle. Like, honestly, Michael O'Sullivan, he looked like a fella who'd been riding around Cheltenham all his life, riding this horse. He took a pull turning for home, set this horse alight, and he went by Facile Vega like he was stood still. And Facile Vega is no mug, and this is a very good horse. He's been minded. You can see he's quite a light-framed horse, but he's light on his feet. And if you watch him jump the last again at Cheltenham, twinkle toes, he's a good horse.
Okay.
And to get the better of this fella, Facile Vega, took a bit of doing.
Champ Kylie?
Beat him cold. Champ Kylie looked good when won the Lawlers, didn't it? Nace. But prior to that, looked like he had a little bit to find.
Will you laugh at if I say the word Sharjah?
No, I won't. I watched that race again when that horse won.
He loved it, didn't he?
At Tipperary, and he bolted up. Fences will help him because he looked like he was a bit of a short runner previously, but I think over fences it will help him.
Kevin?
It just goes a little right.
And in fairness, like your great love affair, Matt, with Faheen, like in fairness, he showed that horses that are that good can go chasing like very late in life relatively and still be good and competitive. Like he won a Grade 1 Novice Chase. He was very competitive at Cheltenham. Now Sharjah wasn't quite as good as Faheen was over hurdles, but he won a heap of Grade 1s, and he seems to have made the transition with a lot of enthusiasm, and it seems to have reinvigorated him a bit. So while you set it up as in, the people might not take him seriously, but you'd be brave enough to forget about him now, and I'm sure he'll turn up in the likes of the Drinmore, an early staging ground for the better novices, and he'll probably be very tough to beat there because a lot of Willie's real big guns won't be, ready for a Grade 1 at that stage, and he very much will be.
How many 10-year-olds? You often tell me, in recent times, let's go since 1950, how many 10-year-olds have won the Arkle, Kev?
Has there been any?
No, there hasn't. None.
How many have tried?
Oh, Fitzy.
Very, very few, I'd say.
You got a 9-year-old in Saken, and the best of the recent 8-year-olds, some good horses. Sizing Europe, Moscow Flyer were both 8 when they won the Arkle, but that makes sense because Moscow Flyer, of course, was a tremendous hurdler before, and you forget sometimes just how good he was over hurdles. Old Moscow used to bang the odd one, but he was pretty good. Okay.
But Faheen was beaten like a length in a whatever it's called, a Turner's Novice Chase at the age of 12. 12,
And he was unlucky not to win, Kev.
Yeah. But we're talking about one of the greatest national hunt horses anyone's ever seen.
Yeah, he'd been to Lourdes at that stage. Like, he had a fair few physical problems. In fairness to Sharjah, like he's never really had a problem, a big one anyway.
He should have won
poor old Faheen had been through a fair lot by the time he got there. Like that, if he'd went there a year earlier, or 2 years earlier, he would have surely have won a Grade 1 Novice Chase there. But anyway, the point is, Sharjah, it wouldn't be an impossibility now, would you be surprised? Yeah, but you wouldn't like to dismiss it out of hand.
Yeah, he will, of course, be 11, not 10 by the time this race, if we're just talking about the Arkle comes along. But with Sharjah, you wouldn't rule him out because he's got that class, hasn't he? He's a very, very good horse.
Yeah, and he's a horse who has won Grade 1s over hurdles over 2 miles. So, he should be at the top of the list, really.
Yeah, loves Cheltenham as well. Yeah. He's not sexy, is he, though, from a point of view of punters? No. There's not many punters out there saying, Sharjah will win the Arkle. I mean, it's just not the kind of thing they say. In the pocket, I want to talk about that. That could be a very promising horse, couldn't it? AP will get excited.
He was very keen, raced on it a little bit. You wonder, will fences just get him to relax?
Yeah.
Because, very often when you ride that sort of horse, it gives them something to look at and they back off a little bit. And because of it, then they forget about being so keen. So I think he could be really interesting, this horse. But again, he's got a bit to find with Marine Nationale.
Yeah. I love these youngsters, though, Kev. Like, it's one of the fascinations, isn't it, when you see a really good novice hurdler going chasing. And I think all of us just want to see them go ping and love it. And I think there are so many parts of this game that if you follow it regularly, that you can get to grips with. And I really do believe those the top novice hurdlers going chasing, it doesn't matter if it's 1 to 3 first time out. You watch every fence, and it's a bit like Constitution Hill. Only has to make a little area and there's a gasp even at 1 to 3. You just want them to survive and to survive as in get over the obstacle and show what they might be able to do.
Yeah, like evaluating those novice chasers is probably the thing that gets me as excited as anything during the national season. I think it's so much fun, figuring out which ones might
not
be
good news for Mrs. Blake, that is
it? A bit shorter. But like the flip side of what we talked about earlier with Constitution Hill and the fact that he's probably going to be a super short price everywhere he goes for the next 5 or 6 years is that he's going to clear out the novice hurdlers every year. In that they're going to be inclined towards going novice chasing. Like if Constitution Hill wasn't around, like Marine Nationale, Facile Vega, they probably all stay hurdling. So the fact that Constitution Hill is almost in there scaring them all off, it makes for an especially exciting novice chase scene. So, you take with one hand, but you get back with the other one.
But just on that, and this is just really a talking point, if people are scared off, I do think they're slightly missing a trick. Because at the end of the day, we know Constitution Hill's programme, and it's not as if he's running in a dozen races over the next 6 months. There are loads of champion hurdle trials with great prize money up for grabs. I mean, for instance, a horse like State Man, and I appreciate he could go chasing or stay hurdling, but he can mop up prize money over hurdles if he stays hurdling. And there must be opportunities, the Wincanton hurdles and things like that pop up. There are. I mean, there's a reason Alan King's horse, who wins over fences and hurdles.
Lord, where's
my brain?
Anyway, it's just completely gone from all our minds. People are chucking things at the Facebook right now, hitting YouTube. But that kind of horse can just mop up prizes, even though we can't remember his name.
Is State Man going to go chasing? Is there a possibility?
No, I think they've said he's going to stay hurdling with Impera Passe. And between the two of them, they'll run riot, I'd imagine, in the non-Constitution Hill Grade 1 hurdles through the season. I suspect Willie will be sending runners to the UK in the races Constitution Hill isn't going to. I'd say Willie's very much on it in terms of what the opportunities Constitution Hill will create by scaring off so many.
And what about Facile Vega, Kev? That's a horse that kind of had the bubble burst last year, but in saying that, he still bounced back and won at the back end.
Yeah, look, he had a big blip in the middle of the season at the Dublin Racing Festival. There was excuses. He came back a little bit footsore, I think, after, and there was, of course, the high-profile criticism of the ride from Willie Mullins. And look, I was hoping he'd bounce back at Cheltenham. He was beaten fair and square by Marine Nationale, albeit with a bit of a mistake at the last. He did bounce back at Punchestown and was impressive. But yeah, look, how he'll adapt to fences will be really interesting, because unlike many of those we've already talked about, he hasn't come from a point-to-point background, and we've never seen him over a fence in that context. So how he fares in his first go over fences will be particularly interesting. But look, all the talents there. There's no reason from his jumping style of a hurdle to suggest that he won't be suited by it. He's one of those. He was always a little bit. At times you'd say he jumped a hurdle solidly rather than like really fluidly, and those are often the ones that convert well to fences. So can't wait to see him out. And we know with Willie, like we won't be holding our breath to see his top novice chasers out in the next few weeks. Normally we need rain to come into November before we see them, but can't wait till they start coming out.
You were on about Nappers Hill and Hermes Allen. I suppose we've got to talk about him as well. And because look, these are very good Irish horses, but we might not see them in the UK. Yeah. Whereas we've got to talk about the horses that are based here. Yeah,
and Nappers Hill. Again, if you're watching this in a few days' time off record, Nappers Hill should have run at Chepstow. And Hermes Allen, of course, could be amazing, although he disappointed at the end of last season. Just a quick quiz question. So which owners did we really want to win the St Leger this season? Turned up at the track, everyone cheered.
The King.
Yeah, and I'm trying to give you a clue to the name of the Alan King horse that we forgot.
Not Undersoul.
Sco Royal.
It's
amazing. I said it. I was shouting it at you there a few minutes ago, man. Come on, listen.
Did he? Did you hear that, Fitz?
No.
No, nor did I.
I pronounced it correctly as well. It's So Royal.
Actually, Tom, my producer, just saying he mutes you when you're not meant to be speaking. So that's why no one heard that, Kev. But thanks again for contributing to tonight's show. Right. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to promote now.
Got a special offer.
Should we do a special offer?
Yes.
OK, let's do another special offer. What I love, of course, courtesy of the great BoyleSports. Jump season 2023-24. Get money back. There's a free bet up to £20 if your horse comes second to the SP favourite across a selected meeting each day. It's a get money back offer. I presume this is just in general, not like Cheltenham or anything like that. So just a general offer. If you're betting with BoyleSports, check out the second money back offer. OK, we've got horses, trainers, jockeys to follow.
Can I go first quickly? I'll be very quick.
Well, we've got actually ages, to be honest.
Okay.
You can take your time, Fitzy.
I'll drag it out.
We're going to have a cuppa.
I've got a couple of horses that I thought were really impressive in bumpers that I really liked. Indiver Bleu of Ollie Murphy's. Go and watch that horse winning at Wetherby. Super impressive. Owned by Diana Wheatley. Like, honestly, you watch this thing hit the line. So strong. And I think he could be really smart. Ollie Murphy needs a good horse. I think this could be it. I really do. Another horse, bumper horse, Crest of Glory, trained by Anthony Honeyball. Went to Newbury last year and absolutely dotted up. They rode this horse very handy. When Aidan Coleman gave him a squeeze, he put daylight between himself and the rest, beating them miles. The horse that finished fifth, you couldn't even see him. He was that far behind, has won twice already, so the form has had a good look. And it would be lovely for Nicky Richards if he had a good horse. He's got one, I think, for Jim Fife, Florida Dreams, who won at the Aintree Festival, won a bumper in those very distinctive black and pink colours. And I think this could be a good horse for Nicky, I really do.
Okay.
I hope it is.
There's plenty in there.
Yeah.
Shall I go next?
Yeah.
Or shall we get Kevin? I think I was. I'm running.
Well, I think the crowd are waiting for Kevin, but
they can wait.
Not so sure.
yeah. Crowd of one. Right. Okay. Some of these you're going to love, Fitzy.
Okay.
You're going to laugh at.
Okay.
Because there are some Hendo horses in here. I'm going to start with a Hendo horse called South of the Border.
Yeah.
A Fosslas bumper winner.
Owned by West Coast Haulage.
Yes. I just think it. Look, I'm not talking about Cheltenham here. I'm not talking about Aintree.
He's a nice
horse. I'm
horse.
just talking about horses I think will win you races if you follow them this season. Yeah. And South of the Border certainly won. This one, you're going to absolutely laugh at me because he got beat at Fontwell the other day. But I'm in love with this horse. Elish Dumu. Now, he looked weak when he got beat at Fontwell the other day. He's built like he's a chaser already. I think he's 5 off the top of my head. If he happened to go chasing this season rather than staying hurdling, I think he's got loads of ability. Again, he's not going to win at Cheltenham, but I'm sure he's got loads of wins in him. One horse that we haven't mentioned that at one point was considered a monster, and I'm not giving up on, Jet Powered.
Yeah.
You tell me about Jet Powered. I mean, he's a Donnelly colour horse.
All by Donnelly.
Remember, he was, although he got beat in the end, he wasn't disgraced. I think he could be great. If Attacker goes chasing for Nicky, which I presume he will, I think he'll win races.
Yeah.
Right, let's. I've got.
Okay, I'll give you another Henderson horse.
Okay, give me another Henderson.
Django Bay.
Django Bay.
Jango Baie. This is a horse that I was actually there at the point when this horse finished second from Mick Goff. He got beaten by a horse owned by JP McManus, ridden by Derek O'Connor. No flies on him, which is now gone into training with Edward O'Grady. Keep an eye on both of those horses because they looked really, really smart. Willie the Builder was the horse that finished third that day of Declan Quealy's. He's the horse that came out of Utoxeter for Dan and Harry Skelton the other day and won by half the track. These two horses were in front of him and they're both very, very smart.
Be nice to see Eddie with a good one. I haven't quite finished yet. I've got about 4 or 5 more. I hope you're noticing these down because these are winners. Marvellous Mick for Paul Nicholls. Can't believe you didn't choose that one, Fitzy. Chepstow bumper winner, Blue Brazil offspring out of a Cave Tower mare. Nice. I'll be stunned if that horse, it's a 5-year-old, I'll be stunned if it's...
Great name.
Yeah, a great name. It was quite a big field at Chepstow, 13 runners, absolutely hacked up. I'll be stunned if that horse isn't pretty good. A horse I saw at Ascot last season, I was working at the track for Sky Sports Racing on the day, Thames Water, is McNeil family and Tim Murphy have this horse. Again, as long as it's alive and kicking, I'll be stunned if that's not a good horse. It was one of those that Heskin was really looking forward to.
Thames Water.
He's not now. But yeah, Thames Water. And I tell you what, it was an ongoing joke on the day because I'm sure there was a hosepipe ban at the time, and there was this horse Thames Water running when you couldn't get any Thames Water. Right, and I've got 3 bumper winners for Willie Mullins or McManus bumper horses. Kevin can tell us off the top of his head about these. You won't even need to look these up, Kevin, because with your knowledge, Indiana Dream, Mirazur West. Actually, those 2, and the other horse I just want to mention was one that won at Worcester the other day for Twisty, Broadway Boy. That's going to win loads of novice chases. But Indiana Dream and Mirazur West, Kevin. Tell me about those 2.
Indiana Dream is going to be difficult to place this year. Don't know what they're going to do because did win over hurdles last year, last season, and then disappeared. So won't be a novice, obviously, over hurdles this season. But
it's a very good
impressive horse. It did look really impressive that day, in fairness. So, would he go chasing? I don't know. That would be the natural route now that he's not a novice, perhaps. But yeah, interesting horse for sure. Interesting. Yeah, because I'd have a couple like that, Matt, that went missing last season, and people just might forget about them a little bit, and they're worth mentioning. Redemption Day. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Looked a really good bumper horse. Not last season, season before last. Ended up finishing second to Facile Vega, a mile clear to third in the Grade 1 bumper at the Punchestown Festival. And I did hear a positive update on him. We haven't seen him for a year and a half, but he's back in full training, and they're hoping he'll be out before Christmas. So do not forget about him. If he comes out and bolts up in the maiden hurdle, all of a sudden everyone will remember him, and fancy prices may be gone. And a horse I absolutely loved, again, a year and a half ago, the Nice Guy. Willie Mullins again, Cheltenham Festival winner, Punchestown Festival winner, completely and utterly took them by surprise. Doesn't show a thing at home, seemingly.
Malcolm Denmark's the Nice Guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Went through his novice hurdle season unbeaten. And the plan was to go novice chasing last season, I believe. Had a setback, missed the whole thing. But he's not an old horse. He's 8 rising 9. And hopefully he gets back and we can see what he can do. And a horse that I want to mention of Henry de Bromhead's, Arctic Brazil, started off his season.
He'll be
really
by Blue Brazil.
Pete Davies owns him.
That's the very one. I was really impressed with him when he won his maiden hurdle last season. Went over to Sandown for the Tolworth, ran absolutely motherless, unfortunately. Missed some time, came back at the back end of the season, a little bit disappointing again. But, classic Henry de Bromhead, chasing is going to be his game, and he could hopefully get back on track this season. And one that's a little bit more high profile, but we haven't mentioned him yet, so I'll mention him, is Banbridge. He'll be a tricky one to follow because he doesn't want testing ground. He wants nice ground. But when he gets it, he's very good. And in particular, he'll probably start off over mid-range trips. But I'd be very excited about seeing him up at 3 miles at some stage. Maybe something like a King George, maybe. He could potentially be quite interesting. I don't think we saw all he had to give over fences last season. He put up some super performances, and up in trip could be the key to him. So that's my lot.
And Kevin, I've got 2 more things I really want to ask you. Let's start with the first of those 2. This has been, I think, the first show I've ever done with you that you haven't mentioned Joseph O'Brien at least 10 times. Does Joseph have a jumper that we haven't heard of that is around the corner and exciting?
See, Matt, there's a horse called Banbridge that I mentioned 30 seconds ago. That's
but we've heard of Banbridge. I said that we haven't heard of. You've got to listen, Kevin. This was your problem at school.
That you haven't heard of. He doesn't have a big team, Matt. He's going to have about 20 jumpers this year.
Well, he's not going to need a race planner if he hasn't got a big team, is he?
Yeah, it'll be a quieter winter for sure. But look, there's some lovely ones in amongst them that everyone knows all
Just
about.
one.
Will there be some? God. Yeah, there's a couple of juvenile hurdlers that you might be seeing reasonably soon, potentially in the green and gold, that can hopefully come up to the mark.
Okay.
But
that's enough. That's enough.
Manus
juvenile hurdlers. Kevin's not giving the names away, JP, but he's told us they're in your colours. And a jockey. What about jockeys? We haven't mentioned jockeys at all. Jump season. Obviously, Bowen doing brilliantly over here. Anyone you can recommend that we can follow?
It's a mad old time for jockeys, isn't it? Like, it's the biggest transitional period that I can probably remember in the last 10 or 15 years. In that, some absolute legends have exited the stage, and there's some big boots to be filled. Fitzy mentioned him earlier. Michael O'Sullivan really came of age at Cheltenham. Really high pressure situation there, and acquitted himself really well. He has a great amount of promise. In terms of amateurs coming through, and I don't know if he'll ever turn pro. But I have a huge amount of regard for John Gleeson. He really showcased himself on A Dream to Share last season, but he'd been impressing on lower profile stages. Still a very young guy, but mature beyond his years. I've dealt with him quite closely. He would have worked for Joseph for quite some time and has ridden plenty for him. Great tactical brain, very cool, rides very stylishly. He can go as far as he wants to go. The bumper scene is difficult in Ireland. We know Gordon and Willie win most of them, and John won't be aboard too many of those. So the winning rides can be hard to come by, but when he gets on the right ones, he tends to impress. So he'll start popping up in a few of those big amateur rider jumps races too, I suspect, this season. So yeah, John Gleeson is one I'd flag up.
Well, lads, I've really enjoyed this chat with you. I think, as much for myself as the viewers, just chatting to you 2 guys, bringing up names that, they do go missing during the flat season. Suddenly, when you start looking at those anti-post lists, they all come back, some old friends in there. And, there are going to be some hot favourites like Constitution Hill. There are going to be some new kids on the block. It's the beauty of the game, isn't it? That you never know quite what's around the corner. I hope you've all enjoyed the At the Races Jumps season preview, sponsored incidentally by BoyleSports. We're over here now. Hello. So if you are on YouTube, remember at around 9 o'clock, the videos from Kevin start loading up. And if you subscribe right now, those videos will pop up on your screen for you to enjoy, if that's your kind of thing. Anyway, this has been great fun. Thank you very much. Thank you to our sponsors. Who are our sponsors, Fitzy? I said I'd test you.
BoyleSports.
Very good. Kevin, who are our sponsors?
Yeah, Boyle Sports, and I hope the listeners and viewers learned as much as you did through this show, man.
Goodbye.